What is going on, everyone? Peter Hunt Szpytek here with Cristian Macias, bringing you a quick look at No Rest for the Wicked. This is the new game from Moon Studios, creators of the Ori series. Cristian, this game is not similar to Ori in that it is not a Metroidvania. I know you've already played a fair amount of this. How much have you played? It's the first weekend of this thing being live, is that right?
Yes, it's currently in early access, and I played just over 2 hours over the weekend to get a feel for the game, provide some overall general thoughts, and I figured it'd be kind of fun for us to check out the game together and see how you would feel about the game, just kind of watching me play, and we can go through the first opening section together, have some fun, and give some comments, maybe giggle a little bit.
Oh,
who knows?
I love to giggle. You know that about me.
Yeah, I decided we should start probably with the character creator because I wanted you to see the art style for this game, which is pretty unique. And, well, obviously we have some comparisons here. Let's do something fun. Let's name our character Keanu. I think it'd be fun to make Keanu Reeves here in a second. So character creator itself.
Yeah.
Not super in-depth. Like, you know, we just had Dragon's Dogma come out. You can literally make anyone run into anyone. This isn't as in-depth, but it is sort of fun.
These bodies are crazy. Like the shape, like just the base, because you didn't alter those at all, right? Like those are just like the default bodies.
Yeah, that's just default bodies. You can't really alter those.
Huh.
There we go. And that's,
oh yeah, all right. Wake up, samurai. You know,
that's Keanu enough.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of what he's gonna say is Shadow the Hedgehog. Chaos Control. That'll be him. Geez, yeah, but these arms with the
yeah, those are some lengthy arms, aren't they?
Yeah. So is there like a class system with this, or is this? Do you know what I'm asking?
Funny you mentioned that, Peter Hunt Szpytek. No, there is no class system. Moon Studios has labeled this the soft class system. The emphasis is entirely on weapons and not specific to any classes. So really, your priority here is going to be upgrading weapons and not any specific kind of class.
Okay, gotcha. So if you had to, like, as we get this sort of set up here, like Ori in the Blind Forest, and then whatever the other one was called, Will o' the Wisps, I think is the second one. That is, you know, a Metroidvania platformer. This is not, right? This is like a dungeon crawler, like 3D isometric game, right?
Isometric Souls-like is you know, action RPG is the closest we can label it to that. Yeah.
When I was a child.
All right, so here we are on the beaches of the Shallows. We skip past the tutorial and intro cutscene just so that we can get straight to the actual game part of this game. So Cristian, you're beating up some. I mean, what is that? A crab?
That's a crab, octopus? Yes. We'll explain here in a second, but you should know the setup is the year is 841. There are rumors circulating about the return of a great plague, known as the pestilence. You're a serum sent to investigate the island of Sakura, and of course, the rumors as well. And while on board a ship headed to the island, we were attacked by a rebel group known as the Risen, who seized our ship, and we awoke on this island. So let's get our first quest here.
Okay. Oh, I like this art. I think it's kind of cool. And you know, I do like the art in general for this game. I think that, like, it's kind of got that cell shaded vibe, but it's not like so cell shaded that it's like right in your face. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely. So here we're looking at our log. We just got our first quest log. Some interesting thing to note here is the map is very much named the Fog of War. And the interesting thing about this is that, of course, as you explore, the Fog of War expands. But the more time you spend away from an area you've already explored, the fog returns, and there's, you know, later down the line when the map opens up, when you return to areas, it'll be slightly different. Not that it's procedurally generated, the game is still handcrafted, but you might find enemies that you've discovered later return to the area.
Okay, that's kind of cool. Excuse the person who's mowing their lawn right outside my window. So in terms of like the stuff that you're picking up, obviously you're grabbing a sword here. Is it like, is this, like you said, it's very loot based. It's not class based, right?
I'm very glad you asked that as well. You should know that loot in this game is randomized. So when you start the game, despite the tutorial, you get a sword and shield in the tutorial, you are very much at the whim of the game and what your starting weapon will be. So when I first played this game, we had a magic staff, and the beginning area was a bit of a struggle as I was less kind of, magic was a bit harder to use in the opening area. Now we have a two-handed weapon, which might make mowing down the enemies in the opening area a bit easier.
Yeah, and so there's like a bonfire over there. Is that like, you said this is Souls-like, is it like bonfire based?
Yes, however, this is just a camping pit for us to cook items. The way healing works in this game is entirely recipe based. So you have to scavenge for loot, mushrooms and herbs to make soup. It's our base recipe, and we use that to heal. And of course, the more recipes you unlock, the better your healing you can get.
So, you've played... go on.
It is worth exploring as much as you can. If you are curious about the art, the whole bonfire mechanic, we have these right over here. And this is the Serum Whisper. This is the kind of the equivalent of the bonfire. Okay.
So, you've played this for a while. Is the, like, cooking sort of... Geez, you just annihilated that rat. Do you like the cooking system as opposed to having, like, a set sort of, like, healing charge, like an Estus, or I forget what you had in, like, Star Wars Jedi Survivor and stuff like that?
Not particularly. I think when it's an inventoried item, it can make exploration a bit more difficult. I kind of like the flow of souls in that regard.
Okay.
Where you have like a specific slot and you... Oh, here we go. I'm getting knocked around.
I was gonna say, he was on the ground though, and he didn't get hit by that slash. That was kind of cheap there.
There we go. And we'll heal here for the first time. An interesting mechanic, however, is that when you heal, you have a timer about 10 seconds before you can use your healing again. So you have to time these things very well if you're in the middle of an intense fight.
That's kind of cool. Do you think that works well? Or does it just feel like a restriction just for the sake of being a restriction?
Yes, however, in the early game, when you're running out of healing materials, it can be a little bit arduous to get through the first area. And here's where the isometric comes into play a lot, where it's kind of difficult to sort of platform up certain sections because of the fixed camera. It can be pretty fun, but can be also a little bit difficult. So if you don't have great hand-eye coordination, you might be finding yourself falling down a lot. Yeah,
and it's tough to shimmy across a ledge like you're doing right here. Like when it's like isometric, because I feel like it's pretty simple if you're just going straight. You know what I mean? Just position the camera behind you and then just hold up. But like having it be at like a specific angle is kind of weird. So then when you have to like rest here.
So we can't rest once we have it. It's sort of set. You can choose which one you want to respawn at in case you die. There's no resting mechanic. You have to use your recipes.
But so if you return to that, like those enemies and stuff like respawn, or like how Soulsy is this?
So the Souls-like will be maybe with difficulty in combat, but enemies don't respawn once you kill them.
Got it.
So inside there is the first area. I'm going to give you a little pro tip. You can actually go around, get a little bit of loot here, climb up this way, find a little chest, and maybe sneak up on this enemy, get a little backstab, cheeky backstab.
Dang, you really got him. I saw you climbing around. Like, is that stamina based as well? Like, is that like a? I saw okay, got it.
I'm sorry, the green bar. Yes, sorry. The climbing was, and there are certain moments where you're swimming, and if you run out of stamina, you'll drown, take damage.
Got it. Okay. And then you're not able to move the camera at all, right?
No, none at all. We're at the whim
of whatever they want.
So let's do one of our incredibly powerful moves here. Once we get an opening.
Okay. And this guy's clock.
Yeah, he's done for. So here we got a hunter's knife. However, we don't have the stats to equip it. We still need to upgrade first. We haven't reached level 2 yet, so we can't switch to the hunter's knife. That'll stay in our inventory for now.
Gotcha. So do you think that, like, because there is no like set class or anything like that, does the game sort of push you to experiment with different classes and stuff like that as you find loot and whatnot?
Yeah, I think that's what Moon Studios is going for. They want you to kind of experiment with weapon variety and kind of get a feel for the game as a whole, rather than stick to one specific class. And I think that does open up combat in more interesting ways.
Sure.
There we go.
So you know, obviously you said like in the time you spent with the game over the weekend, you had the magic staff or something like that as your first weapon. Did you stick with that then throughout your time with it, or were you cycling through different stuff?
I sort of had to for a good hour or so until I found another weapon.
Yeah.
I was lucky because the route was randomized. We were lucky that we got a weapon right there.
Oh, really? Okay.
Here we go. We got our first ring, and that'll give us some kind of a passive perk.
Okay, cool. Oh yeah, can you go over here? Like, how much can you equip? Is that like 2 rings there and?
Only one for now. These other 2 slots are locked. But while I have you here, if you notice at the bottom, there's a bar that reads normal. This game, similar to Souls, has a weight system where the less you have equipped, the faster you are. We can do a quick step here as our dodge since we're fast. And if we put our sword back on, we'll switch on over to normal, and that's a bit of a slower roll. And you can go all the way to heavy, where you will do a slow roll, but you can also knock over enemies and stagger them that way.
Oh, that's actually kind of cool. That's kind of an interesting system then.
It is important to know, and as a reminder, the game, again, of course, is in early access, so you might get a little bit of stutter here and there, some performance issues.
Yeah.
They're still working on it.
How long do they know? Like, how long this is intended to be in early access for? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, sometimes studios will have like a roadmap for saying, like, you know, we're gonna keep this early access for a year or whatever. Like, did they mention anything like that? Do you know?
Nothing yet, but there was already a major update that happened over the weekend just to fix up some minor bug issues and kind of polish a little bit, with more on the way very soon. Got it.
Yeah, and I figure too, like, you know, as this game is in early access, like it'll be getting frequent updates and whatever else. And this is only on PC, right? As most early access stuff is.
Yeah, currently only on PC.
Gotcha. I like this fire effect. I don't know. I think that looks really good. It's so interesting when studios go from doing something very specific to doing something else also very specific. So, like, you know, they were doing the Metroidvania stuff with the Ori games, and then now, like, this is, and correct me if I'm wrong, like, nothing to do with that. Would you agree?
Yeah, this is kind of a new approach for them, which is actually pretty refreshing to see from a smaller studio. They have more freedom to kind of experiment with different stuff, and it's nice to see them take a full swing in a different direction. Kind of unexpected. You know, they kind of nailed platforming for a while, and now let's see what they can do with more, you know, combat-focused action RPG. That's pretty neat that they have the opportunity to do that.
Yeah, there was like combat stuff in Ori though, wasn't there? Or was that more like the movement abilities were also sort of doubled as combat stuff?
Sure. Actually, one thing real quick, I almost forgot. We've gotten our first piece of loot here. Our gear.
Pants.
Yeah, let's dress up Keanu here. Give him, you know, at least a shirt.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll find a suit.
Very John Wick, huh?
So we're locked off here. This is the area to eventually head to the first boss, but we need up there to reach that lever, and it's also missing a handle. So we need to find a way to get that lever.
Okay. So this is kind of interesting then. It's sort of like environmental puzzle-y, stuff like that. I mean, and you know, if you think about it, that's kind of Metroidvania-esque.
Oh, that's the storage room. I'm looking for the mess hall.
Gotcha. And there's no like indication as to where that might be or anything like that, is there? Just
the only thing we know is where we need to go eventually. All the way over there. That is about it. You have to read the environment, otherwise you might be a little bit lost.
Gotcha. So, you know, I'm watching you play this through Discord, so maybe the quality might not be the absolute best, but that door that you were sort of like looking at before was a little tricky to see. Was it well signposted, do you think?
You know what? I have. Here we go. I gotta focus up here a little
Oh,
bit.
yeah, sorry, lock in. Get him.
Ooh. I might be dying here. There we go. That's
There
our
it
first
is.
death.
First death. So let's see what happens when you respawn then. So you know, like another thing with Souls games and Souls-like games is the idea of like losing things on death. Are you losing like experience points or like money or anything like that?
The only thing you lose is weapon degradation, which at the time of recording needs a little bit of fine tuning. Some people aren't happy in the later game. Weapons, once they do degrade, can be a bit harder to fight enemies. In the early game, it's less of a hassle. We're kind of at the whim of these kind of early enemies. They're a bit easier to fight, but as things get harder, yeah, I can see how that comes into play. And there might be some balancing that happens later on.
So is it that weapons only like lose their like start to degrade like when you die, or is it like they degrade as you play? You know what I mean?
A little bit of both. You'll see a little meter here as we're fighting, but there are also recipes to fix degradation. There's also a weapon here. We'll see. I have two things we can put in our bar. We have physical damage and stamina. We might put stamina in our bar, and that's a great place to mention. There's no hot bar like in Souls where you can cycle through items down by using the D-pad and then clicking a button to use the item.
Mm-hmm.
We have one item we can put in our bar. That's down on the D-pad, and that's it.
And then so what's up? What is that? Is that food?
That is my healing, and in the right side you'll see my weapon, and we can switch on over. We just died, so we can't use it. We have to build up our meter.
Yeah, I'll let you get this guy. My goodness, he loves these like Molotovs. There you go.
Here we go. And so you have to build a meter by either parrying, attacking. And you'll see that meter on the left. I'm holding right bumper. That'll give me access to an ability, which I used at the very beginning, which is to use my claymore with a heavy, devastating attack.
Sure.
And before I move on, there's a little bit of ore here. We don't have a pickaxe. If we explored more, we would have found some extra little items for us to do. This game also is pretty resource heavy. So you'll be finding items to either fish, mine, or cut down trees, and you'll use that to build more recipes. So there's a bit of crafting involved.
Okay. Is there like I gotta get the handle there. Is there like a weight management? Do you know what I mean? Like as you pick things up, are you having to manage like your carry weight or anything like that?
Only what's equipped.
Well, then that's not so bad. I really dislike when games are like you have to have a bunch of different resources on you, but also like they don't want you to be able to carry that many, you know? So that's at least good. How's the difficulty in this?
You know, challenging enough, but not frustrating. I'm not banging my head against a wall with any one fight. However, I will say that bosses, without the right equipped items or maybe skills can be really challenging.
That makes sense. Or I mean, I guess maybe hopefully we'll be able to see it. I have some questions for you about like the bosses and how they feel and whatever. But I mean, the combat here looks fluid enough. Oh man, I love this outfit with this.
Now you
scarf.
can see we're heavy rolling.
Oh, okay. But you said you can like interrupt enemy attacks and stuff like that by doing that.
Well, let's see if we can give that a shot.
Okay. That's actually kind of a neat system.
All right, here we go. So we found the mess hall. And we got to fight all 4 of these dudes at once.
Okay. How is it managing multiple enemies then? I guess we're about to find out, huh?
I'm getting a little bit of stagger here with more enemies on screen. So we're going to be doing our best to...
Stagger like with the frame rate?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. Is it common to have... Oh my gosh, you just absolutely wailing on them. Is it common to have a lot of enemies on screen at once, or is it... I mean, because up until this point, it's pretty much been one-on-one fights, you know?
Pretty early on, there's a good balance of... Ooh, here we go. I'm about to die, actually. Don't want to do that.
It's a good balance of single enemies and stuff like that.
I'm sorry, I had to lock in. Yeah, it's a pretty good balance. There's never anything more than like 2 or 3 at any given moment pretty early on in the game.
Sure, okay.
Thank you.
Let's see here. Fillmore.
I like him.
I like
Good dude.
this guy's haircut. I think it's the haircut you have, isn't it? In the game, I mean.
Yeah. Well, he's trying to ankle bite Keanu here.
I was gonna say, yeah,
Aren't we all?
the blonde. It's like Kurt Cobain. So in terms of like story stuff, we talked to this guy. We talked to the guy who gave you this first quest. And obviously you mentioned that there was. Oh, he like a vendor?
Yeah. Let's repair our gear here since we have died now.
Okay.
And see what else we can purchase here. We've got a whopping $34, Peter.
Okay.
And I say, and this is something I did pretty early on, that my first purchase was a crab chowder recipe.
Okay,
And now
so it makes better healing items.
And if we do read our recipe, we have to go into our inventory and we have to find it. We can use that item. We've learned a recipe. We can now head back to the campfire we noticed earlier and cook up some new stews for us to take on some enemies.
Okay, so before, I mean, obviously, like I see you've just got like a mushroom. It looks like on the wheel there. So I imagine that like single items do not do. I mean, near as much healing as like full dishes. Is that about right?
Yeah, absolutely not. It's a passive healing, so you'll notice that bar is filling up my health bar slowly, as opposed to a big chunk all at once.
Yeah, that makes sense. Oh, that's a good parry there. Is the game like parry heavy?
Yeah, absolutely. Especially with us having no shield, we're pretty much dependent on our timings. Which I gotta say, trying to make content and parry at the same time.
You're doing a
bit harder
great
than,
job.
Here we go. We can grab all. And we got our woodcutter's axe, so we can use that to cut down trees for recipes, but there's not much early on we can use with wood just yet, so we might be able to skip that for the sake of this video.
Sure. Okay. So there is then a significant amount of sort of resource and crafting stuff then, huh?
Quite a bit.
Got it. All right, let's make this clam chowder.
Our crab stew, Peter. Here we go.
Crab stew. Excuse me. Oh, crab chowder.
I'm sorry,
yeah,
crab chowder. Yeah.
But that tastes all right.
Gotta equip that into our top spot, and now we can eat that bad boy.
Oh yeah, I do see though that is like kind of not a hassle, but just like having to not be able to just cycle through stuff and only equip one thing at once is kind of irritating, huh?
Yeah, it's different. I like to try to engage games on their terms and see how it goes, but pretty early on, when we don't have much stuff to kind of, try out different things, it can be a little bit difficult, especially, in this early area. You might run out of stews and have to go back and kind of grind away, which, when we akin these games to like something like Bloodborne, where blood vials were an inventoried item, it's a bit difficult to have to go back and grind for more blood vials when you're just trying to play the game. Which,
I mean, luckily, and this is both, this sort of goes both ways. The fact that it is in early access means that, some of these friction points maybe are able to be ironed out. That's not to say that they will be. I think that's like you'd hope that they are going to be very, very diligent in listening to their community of players. You know what I mean? In terms of fixing some of those things, or even just saying like, hey, no, this is an intentional choice. So I saw that you leveled up. Are you just able to level up on the fly? Like
wherever you want, which is great. And since we are heavy, want to have a higher equip load. There we go. Now we're back to normal. That way we can use some better, gear that we have equipped and move a bit faster. And then stamina is pretty key early on. We're dodging left and right.
And so I imagine that's just. I mean, this stamina is just like the one stat, right? The one. Green bar there.
Yep, absolutely.
Gotcha. Let's see here. Incredible parry right there. Does it feel tight?
Like immediately.
Do the windows feel tight in terms of like parrying and dodging and stuff like that?
They're pretty well telegraphed, I gotta say.
Yeah. I mean, but like does it feel like super responsive in terms of like, you hitting the button to block or parry or whatever, and Like, is there much lag, or is it forgiving? You know,
it is pretty forgiving, and it feels chunky and weighty, which is always good. I mean, the whole combat feels chunky, and yeah, there's not much in terms of like having to anticipate when to press. No, it's pretty good.
Sure.
Let's heal up here for a second.
It is interesting, like watching you play this, like just remembering that, oh yeah, you did not choose this sort of two-handed sword here. You know what I mean? So I can't imagine that might be a little frustrating if this is not a play style that you're into, and just like hoping that you find like a short sword or like a staff or whatever.
Absolutely. If we had wanted to, we could have been bumping our stats to get. Here we go. This hunter's knife instead, and we would have had to have our stat, one of these, dexterity up to 13, which means a whole level gives you 3 attribute points. Our entire first level would have been entirely dexterity. That's less, stamina, less health, less equip load. That would entirely change the way we were playing this opening area.
Would it have been possible then for you, like the first item that you found, this sword, to be something that you are not equipped to use? Do you know what I mean?
No, the very first weapon you get is a base weapon. It'll be the base stats. Would that would be truly unforgiving.
I was gonna sound like that's so rough, but okay, that makes sense.
Forgive my father.
Did I ask you about the story here? Was it something that you were following pretty closely?
There are journals scattered throughout that provide a bit more insight into the world. I think for me personally, I'm less attached to the narrative at this point. There's cutscenes that we kind of skipped over, and those are interesting. But I think for me, the big draw is the actual the world we're exploring and the actual combat. The narrative is falling a bit by the wayside for me, and that's just maybe a personal thing.
Got it. I mean, but like the narrative was pretty light in those Ori games, though, right? I mean, you had your dad was like a bear, and you were trying to find him or something like that. You know what I mean? But it was. I don't think there's dialogue in that game, right?
Yeah.
So
like that.
I'm not too worried about that with something like this, and especially in a game like isometric, Souls-ish. Like, I'm not too worried about like moment-to-moment narrative beats.
Peter?
Yes.
We are on our way to fight the very first boss of the game. Hedge your bets. Do you think we'll be able to do it with the massive claymore? Do you think?
I would like to believe that you've got this in one. I would like to believe that you've studied this boss. You've devoted hours of your life to it. Let's see him. I think you can do it. Classic Souls intro.
Absolutely. You can feel his influences here. And you'll see the design of these pestilence enemies are pretty cool.
Ooh, okay. Because I actually like this a lot. I was worried, like, there's like the criticism of a lot of like Souls games are like sometimes it's just big guys, you know what I mean, with swords or shields or whatever. But like this like giant monster thing, I'm actually very into.
Let's get him out of that.
Torn. Yeah. Okay. This guy's kind of rolling with the same weapon that you've got.
A real David and Goliath moment for us.
Yeah. I do like though that. I'll let you fight this guy, but I like that you were able to, we could see your sort of like outline when he was covering you up. I think that's something that sometimes a lot of games where you're fighting big monsters have a hard time doing. Like if you're being blocked by the camera, you know what I mean? Like you can still see yourself. I think obviously that's a big deal in an isometric game like this where you can't actually move the camera. But it's a nice detail. Let's see here. I think you got this.
We'll see. We're not even halfway yet, Peter.
Are those dodges that you got iframes? Or do you just have to fully be out of the way?
Well, we can try that out. Let's find out right now.
Seems like
we'll do our best.
Huh?
Looks like it might be a little, yeah. It might be iframes.
Uh-oh. Did you go down? Oh, no.
Nope, I'm still up. Here we go. Clam Chowder to the rescue.
Are you a Clam Chowder fan?
Oh, hell yeah, dude. Are you kidding me?
It's so good. It's
absolutely.
So good. I know some people think it's gross. And like I can definitely understand that, but I'm pro.
I gotta say, weirdly enough, Disneyland has some pretty good chowder.
Is that right?
Yeah. You wouldn't expect that, but they do.
Oh, okay. We'll keep that in mind. I'll say this, like the enemy design up until this point, not, you know, obviously I'm not playing it, so it's hard for me to like truly comment on, but it wasn't really doing much for me. But the way this boss is moving around, the way that sort of you're responding to it, I think is actually quite cool. Oh, and there you go, got him in one.
Got him in one.
There you go.
So
And
that,
some lore on him, or what was that?
Peter,
Yeah.
is no rest for the wicked.
There you go. Awesome. Well, thanks for showing me this. So you've played it a little bit more, right? Obviously, it's still in its earlier state. What is your sort of sniff test on this? Are you pro? Are you feeling complicated about it? Where do you fall?
I fall in the line of, I am very happy this game lets you play with friends. I think once you get a crew of people in this together, that might be a bit more fun than exploring this world alone. I will say the first opening hours when I was playing this alone felt pretty isolated. It was maybe a bit unforgiving. And granted, I was using the magic staff. A bit more difficult to use with a weapon I don't really prefer. A bit harder to fight mass enemies by using magic. With friends though, it might have been a bit more fun, a bit easier to handle.
Gotcha. All right, so there you go. Yeah, this is No Rest for the Wicked. We will catch you in the next one. For all things No Rest for the Wicked, make sure you stick with DualShockers.
Bye.
Bye.